All right, so today is Friday, January 10th, and here's my progress. I know it's been a couple weeks since I made a video. I actually made one last week and forgot to post it. I was not in the shop a whole lot over Christmas and New Year's, and I was waiting back to hear from Technical. They closed down for Christmas and New Year's, so I got to hear back from them on Monday. And so where I left off, there was a problem with the rear skins. Oh, I guess I should address this. I fit the vertical stabilizer and the horizontal stabilizer just kind of for fun. And everything fit on really nice and easy, so that was good to see. And it's kind of nice to know ahead of time what I'm going to be dealing with when I come to final assembly. You can access everything before you put the trim strip there, and so you can access all the wires and get everything hooked up nice and easily. So that was kind of just for fun, and I figured I'd leave it on for the video, but I'll take it off right away. Anyway, back to this. Where we left off at the end of my last video was the alignment on the front 2/3 and the misalignment on the back 1/3. So when Technical responded about this, they said, yeah, they know about it, what they've been doing, and it's all the TSIs that have been built so far have had this issue, and they just drill them out to the next size rivet up and haven't had a problem. So it's kind of what I expected, but I wanted to hear back before I did it. A couple other things, yeah, the engine, but I'll get to that in a minute. I finished the left wing. The left wing is all buttoned up and ready for the wingtip, just like the right one. I did, however, notice I made a mistake. And maybe somebody out there has a solution to give me some input. I forgot to put the riv nuts in these holes here. Those hold the landing lights in. And because of the curve of the skin here, I can't get my riv nut tool to get in there and install them. So maybe somebody has an alternative. I don't think I'm going to be able to use a regular nut, because I'll be able to get one light in and reach around from the other hole to hold the nuts in the back, but I don't think I would be able to get the second one in. So if somebody has any suggestions, that'd be great. Maybe there's something else out there that can be installed now, or maybe a different riv nut tool. Mine is kind of like a drill attachment that's maybe that big around, so it's not going to fit in there. Otherwise, I'm going to have to drill out the leading edge, all the rivets, to pull off the skin of the leading edge here, and get in there to put the riv nuts. It's, I guess, not the end of the world, but I'd very, very much appreciate if there's some way to avoid it. Also, here's the engine. A Rotax 915, and it's still attached to the base of the crate. It comes bolted to the bottom of the crate on both sides. So it's nice and stable, and I can just move it around on the pallet jack. But I kind of wanted to take a look at it and see what I was dealing with. So all the wires are labeled where they go and what they do, so that'll be helpful when it comes time to hook it up. I'm pretty sure I can actually install this within the next week or two. I've got all of the firewall forward components installed that can be installed. The fuel pump goes here, but it's recalled, so I'm waiting on the replacement. And they say that the engine can be installed to do that anyway. I got the nose gear on. I don't know if I talked about that in the last video or not. I guess I'll go over it real quick. So what happened was the powder coating actually adds a little bit of thickness, and so it wasn't fitting through the bushings. It was fitting through the bushings, but it had so much resistance it was basically impossible to move. So I thought about trying to sand down the inside of the bushing, and I tried just a tiny section of it, and they're weird. They don't really sand. It really damages them. So they have a nice smooth, like mirror smooth finish. And as soon as you sand it, obviously it loses that. So I sanded off the powder coating and it fits perfectly. I gave it a little bit of space for suspension travel. I know that the steel is now exposed, and so I tried to cover it up with grease as much as possible, or maybe I'll put some sort of rust inhibitor. Definitely I will need to. But I've seen a couple other people do it this way, so that's how I chose to do it. And the nose wheel is ready to go. And so another thing, I've been working on getting the canopy installed, and this is going to go on the beginning of next week. One of the first things I do when I get back to it will be to install this. So I've had it on about 3 or 4 times already, and basically to get it to fit properly, you need to grind down this top edge because it contacts this rail surface here, and it causes, they call this the joggle, I guess, that to be, you know, lifted off the top of the skin a little bit. And so you got to grind it down. And so I've done that, and now it fits nice and smooth along the top edge there. I've buttoned up the skins over the top once it's installed, but it needs to be open in order to get these parachute cables to fit in this tray. So I'm not sure if this is what you're supposed to do or not, but it's what I chose to do. I put some insulation, adhesive insulation, just for padding, so in case there's any turbulence, those cables aren't bouncing around in there. And so yeah, basically I've had the canopy on the plane and button those up, and everything fits really, really nicely. So for final fit, I didn't want to completely, you know, finish it off until I had, so now I've got my luggage floor in place. The support rack is all riveted in, or support brace, whatever that thing's called, is all riveted in. The lock rings are riveted down on the elevator control. And so kind of all the stuff that needs to be done before you have a big canopy in your way is pretty much done now, ready to go. I still have to finish riveting the floor here. I ran a dummy wire through to the magnetometer in the back there, because once everything's buttoned up, I won't be able to get to it. So what I'll do is when I finish my avionics wiring, I'll just tie the connection for the magnetometer to this and pull the wire out through there, and it'll bring it right to the magnetometer, and I'll install it through the inspection port here. So this week and last week has just really been about kind of buttoning up and doing a lot of tedious little jobs. So there's not a whole lot of big stuff to show, but I'll be back at the weekly videos again now, and hopefully there's a lot of quick progress now. One other thing about the canopy, it comes with this wire protector here run through it to there, and no wires. It's kind of one thing that I would really recommend to the factory, not that they really care what I have to say, but one thing I would recommend, I would love if they just put the wires in here, because when you have to run these, it was kind of a pain. I got it all done, but yeah, it's just, it took me a couple hours probably to fish it all through in there, and even still, they're not all going through protective sleeving, but I don't think that there's anything that can really damage them in there. and luckily they're not critical to the flight, even if there was. But yeah, they're just kind of free floating inside the canopy there, and it is what it is. But I did manage to get them run, and so next week the canopy will be on, and it comes unpainted if it's not a quick build kit. I didn't expect that, because every single TSi I've seen has that kind of blue gray, like this color, on the inside of the canopy. I'm actually happy that it doesn't, because now I can paint it the gray, the light gray that I'm going to paint the exterior of the plane with. So I'm going to install it and then tape off down here when I go to paint, and then I'll hit the exterior and the interior of the canopy with the same color. I guess it's not as fancy as it could be, but that's what I want to do, and it's my plane. So anyway, I think that that's pretty much everything for this week. And I know this video has been a little bit kind of sporadic. I know I haven't really written anything that I wanted to say down, so I'm just kind of winging it here. I'll get better again next week, how I was trying to do at the end of, towards the end of the most recent videos. But so next week I will give an update on my fuel tanks. I did the Pro Seal on them earlier this week, and so I don't think it's fully dried yet. The left tank it should be totally fine. The right tank, I just had to kind of seal up that what's it called? The fuel cap had a very slight leak. And you know, if it's gonna leak, if the only leak on the tank is the cap, I actually don't think it matters, but I definitely don't want it to be leaking anywhere. So I put Pro Seal there and set up this manometer. So when it comes time to test it next week, I'll let you know how that goes as well. All right, well, Happy New Year, everyone, even though it's a little late now.